everyone, and welcome to Dream Leapers. I'm your host, Harriette Cole, and I have a great guest today, someone I met just last week. This woman is a storyteller, one who is boldly reimagining what theater can be and who it is for. Ro Reddick is her name. She's an emerging and highly regarded voice in contemporary theater. She's a playwright, a songwriter, an educator whose work blends satire, dark comedy, and cultural critique. As a queer Black artist, she brings a unique and necessary voice to the stage, one that challenges convention, yet welcomes discomfort, laughter, and truth all in one sweep. Ro describes her work as off-kilter comedies, the theme songs to your late capitalist nightmares. And I tell you, how did I describe it? As one of the oddest things I've ever seen in a really good way. Through plays like the one that is up right now, Cold War Choir Practice, which I saw last weekend, Ro uses humor and hyperbole to explore power and systems that shape our everyday lives. A recent recipient of the prestigious Susan Smith Blackburn Prize, Ro is part of a new generation of artists who are reshaping the purpose of storytelling. And today she's going to be talking to us about her creative journey, the responsibility of making politically engaged art, and how to stay authentic in an audience that just, it's kind of, does it playing with the audience? We'll see what that means. Please join me in welcoming Ro Reddick.
Hi.
Hi there. So, Ro, I came along with a busload of people. I wasn't on the bus because I was already here, but the star of your production, Alana Bowers, is my niece. She is actually my older sister's best friend's daughter. So we claim her as our niece.
Yes, I
And
understand that.
she turned it out. And her mother brought a busload of folks from Baltimore to watch the performance. So we loved every single part of it. And we're just so proud to be able to see her do her thing in a production that is definitely different. So
Yes.
that brain of yours, tell us, what is Cold War Choir Practice? What is it about? It's for folks who don't know.
Okay, so Cold War Choir Practice, it's a story set in 1987. So we're kind of at the tail end of the Cold War. And we follow this young Black girl named Meek, who Alana played. And she's living in upstate New York with her dad and her grandmother, and they run a roller rink and live above it. And she has an uncle who is a prominent conservative in Reagan's administration, and he comes home unexpectedly with his wife in tow, who is ill in a way that no one really understands and that he doesn't really explain. And their arrival sort of sets tensions between the two brothers to boil, but also sends the young girl into a maze of espionage. And yeah, it's just like part comedy, part thriller, part spy versus spy, a little bit of everything.
And it's interesting, like it's set in 87, but given all of the odd politics that we're going through right now, I mean, what makes it for sure 87 is because you talk about Gorbachev and the Cold War, but in other ways, it's like, okay, what's going on in our world today that is
Right.
making people concerned about their safety
Right.
and kind of re-examining their understanding of family in kind of desperate times.
Yeah. I mean, I started writing the play in grad school, and it was the fall of 2022. So Putin had invaded Ukraine, and I feel like we were all just talking about what was happening then, but also about the first Cold War, because we were like, are we in another Cold War? So I was thinking a lot about the Cold War. I had taken a class the previous semester that explored that period of time, like post World
Mhm.
War II up until the early 90s, looking at the Cold War, looking at mid-century technology and using that as a framework to think about power and how people relate to it, looking at art history and just politics, everything. So I was kind of steeped in a lot of these ideas, so that when
I
it
was
came
wondering, by
time.
the way, why you were even thinking about that. So we'll blame
Yeah.
your class.
Right. But then the other very personal part is that I was, a little kid in the late 80s, and I was in a choir that was different from the one that's in this play, but certainly concerned with the potential for nuclear war. So we sang about that a bit, and sang about world peace. And it was a very particular choir for that very particular moment in history. So
which
those
is
things combined led
which
to
is
this
so
play.
interesting. I mean, we know that the arts can be a welcome place for tough ideas to be explored.
Hmm.
And these songs, I mean, take us into the songs. First of all, let me tell folks, there's mainly a choir of three, although Alana's character joins sometimes. But these three women who are ethereal and like, where did they come from? And then their voices are otherworldly often. And then the messages are the oddest messages. So take us into some of these songs. What are they saying?
Well, okay, so the choir, they're called the choir, but they play different kinds of choirs throughout the
Right,
play. So when you first meet them, the three folks um, are embodying carolers, Christmas carolers, but the
right.
Christmas carols sort of crawl out of this audio of Ronald Reagan's Christmas address. So he's talking about Christmas, and then suddenly they're singing what he just said, and it turns into a carol that sounds both haunting and maybe familiar. You're like, do I know this Christmas carol? I don't think I know this Christmas carol.
And
Um,
we think we know every Christmas carol. So this
right,
is one of the ways that it's odd. It's like, wait, what am I hearing? Is this a Christmas carol? What's
right,
going on? Mhm.
right. The next time you meet them, they're embodying the children's choir that Meek is a part of. So that's why Alana sings with them
Right.
sometimes. And then they're singing songs that are both appealing to world leaders to end the Cold War, but also have a patriotic or nationalistic vibe to them. So the songs are a little disturbing at times, and strange and hopefully funny. You also see a national version of that choir perform a song called Milkshake for Peace, and it's like an American child befriending a Soviet child and sharing a milkshake and like discovering that we don't have to go to war, we don't actually have to die, we just need to get to know each other over milkshakes. So it's like a wide variety of stuff.
There are a number of themes that travel throughout the play. One of them is about friendship,
Hmm.
and especially this friendship between children. But because you've placed it back in time, the idea of pen pals and
Yes.
pen pals across countries, and that was a
Yes.
thing. I remember
Yes. Did you have
that.
a pen pal? I had a pen pal. I had an
That was
international pen
a
pal.
thing, and you would write to somebody who you did not know, and the expectation of getting the letter from whoever this person was and building a rapport was this was an exciting and beautiful experience that people don't have now. I mean,
Right.
everything's at your fingertips in the moment, and also kinda creepy. I don't think that parents would not necessarily want their children writing to someone they don't know on the internet, you know? But
Right. Right. Right.
speak about the pen pal and why you chose that device in the storytelling.
That kind of came out organically because I was thinking a lot about my own childhood. And so I remember having a pen pal. I had a Canadian pen pal, Denise. And I remember the kinds of things that I would write to Denise were a little fantastical. Like the picture I was painting of Syracuse, New York was not, it had nothing to do with like my actual life or what Syracuse was actually like. And so that
Well,
was
maybe it
something I
is
was
like
kind of.
social media.
Right. So I was kind of like remembering that, and having it come through the speak and spell was connected to the class that I was taking and thinking about early computers and simple computers. So those wires just kind of connected in my brain. And
Right. So the speak and spell was another thing for people who don't know that. That was a toy. That was a
Mhm.
very early computing, right? You would how
Very
did it work?
simple.
How did it
It
work?
was you basically I never had a speak and spell,
Uh-huh.
but basically it prompts you to spell a word and then you
Right.
punch it in and it tells you if you got it right. So it's helping you learn how to spell. And in this version, it's helping Meek learn how to spell in Russian. So she's basically learning Russian through the speak and spell.
Well, that part was amazing. So, and we're not giving away too much, folks, to share this part, but it's just really interesting that she's got the speak and spell, and when she starts to operate it, it's Russian words, and
Yeah.
you hear her saying Russian words, you hear Russian words, and it's just like, oh, okay, this is different. The songs, how you obviously you wrote the words. How did you put them to song? Who actually composed the songs? You did
I
that
wrote the
too?
music. Yeah.
You wrote the music. Wow.
Mhm.
Okay, tell us about learning to do that.
I mean, I mean, I've always been very musical. I was in choirs as a kid and, I took piano lessons as a kid. I'm not a pianist now, but I took those lessons so I knew how to read music. I play guitar. I sing a lot. I did a lot of musical theater when I was an actor. So I just have like a comfort, a certain level of comfort with music. And so it was more about how can I translate what I'm hearing and what I'm imagining as a song, um, and so that other people can learn it and sing it. And so I used a number of tools. I used voice memos, obviously, and I have a looper. And the looper was really helpful in figuring out the choir songs, particularly the Christmas carols that do like a little counterpoint. um I learned how to do Ableton, which is like a DAW, like software that you use to record, and you use MIDI instruments to build the songs. So Adult Skate Night, the big sort of song that
Mhm.
happens in the roller skating rink, I built that out in Ableton. And then I used MuseScore for all the notation so that I could like hand sheet music to my music director. And we have like a brilliant music director who co-orchestrated it. So
Mhm.
she plays the omnichord. And so there's a really unique
What is that?
synthy. It's actually a toy from the 80s that people sometimes use as instruments. And so she plays the keyboard and the omnichord back in the little there's like that little surveillance box that doubles as the
Right.
roller rink area. She's playing the keyboard and the omnichord back there.
Yeah, when I met her, she said that she was playing the whole time. We couldn't see the instrument, so I didn't realize that she was playing, and she was directing the music, directing from that
She's
position,
the
right?
music director.
Music,
Yeah, so there's a
music.
camera back there and a monitor, so she can see what she is able to communicate to the actors on stage when they're looking out into the audience. There's a monitor there; they can see what she's doing, and she can like cue them in. Yeah.
That's fascinating. So, okay, it makes more sense to me that you made the music. I literally was thinking, "Who made this? This music." I mean, so for everybody who's tuned in, just know it's different. The you as you mentioned, you're going through different kinds of choirs. The sound is different. There's nothing expected in this production, but I think that that's what keeps you alert, like what's coming next, and I don't have any idea what's going to come next. So and the singers are also quirky kind of actors, so there's
Right.
all kinds of personality that kind of comes along with it. Let me remind folks, this is Dream Leapers with Harriette Cole. We are talking with Ro Reddick. She has created a really interesting play performance. This doesn't say musical, but it's kind of a musical too. Cold, what is it called?
War
Cold War Choir
choir
Practice,
practice.
and, it's up for 1 more week. Where is it playing, Ro?
It's playing at MCC Theater, and it's a co-production between MCC, Page 73, and Club Thumb. So we have
Excellent.
three producers.
So how long did it take you to write this? Because it has multiple components.
It took a long time. I started in fall of 2022. I wrote about half of it and presented that half for the writing festival that we have in grad school. Writing is live in
Where
a
did you go to
staged
school?
reading. Brown University.
Mhm.
Went to their MFA playwriting program. So I presented about half of it then, and then decided that I wanted it to be my thesis
Mm.
project. So the next year I came back, finished the play, and just kept working on it and kept building out the music. And we did a thesis production directed by Eileen Wen McGrady. And then there's a partnership between our program and Club Thumb. So we did a reading in New York with different actors, and Lizanne Mitchell was in that reading. And that was how they got to know the play. And then Page 73 got to know the play when I applied to their program, and they came together and produced the Summer Works production, which led to eventually us coming to MCC and them coming on board.
So let's talk about casting, because
Mhm.
there are two cast members whom I know. I mentioned Alana,
Yes.
who's the lead, who plays a 10-year-old girl, and Lizanne, who I've known for more than 30 years. She and I are follow the same spiritual practice. And so when I saw her, I was like, whoa, I knew she was an actor, but I haven't seen her perform in a while. And she plays the grandmother and really makes us laugh, and every emotion she's taken us through with her sassy self. How did
Yes.
you what was the casting process like?
Well, for Summer Works, where this started, Club Thumb doesn't typically do auditions. So we just read the play with different actors. We invite different actors to do a cold reading, and we kind of get a sense of like what their style is. We had also done a 29-hour reading, which is how I got to know Alana. I had
Mm.
seen Alana in What to Send Up at
Mhm.
BAM. So I knew exactly who she was, and I thought she would be amazing. And she did the 29-hour reading. It was fantastic. And it was like clear that was our meek. And then everyone else we got to know through the readings around the tables. And it was just like kind of like a puzzle piece, just figuring out who fits where. And some people we knew their work, like Grace McLean, and we just made an offer, or like Suzy
Mhm.
Roach. We just made an offer. Said, would you like to do this? Because we
And who
already
are
knew
those
them.
people, just so for folks who don't know?
Grace McLean is a Broadway actor, Tony nominated,
Mhm.
phenomenal actor who plays Familiar Face, the one who's kind of slithering around, the redhead.
Yes,
She's amazing. Yeah.
she
And
really
Suzy
is.
Roach is like a legend in folk music. She was a legend in the 60s. She sang with
And
the
which one is
Roaches.
she in the performance?
She has kind of like shoulder length gray hair and wears a beret, and she
She was
plays
amazing.
yeah, she's great.
And so there's the woman who plays the brother's wife, who is ill. What's her name?
Her name is Crystal Finn, and she is like a legend of downtown theater, a comedic genius.
Okay, I just have to tell you all, if you go to see this, get ready. She becomes something else. Like she plays her character so well. This woman who has an illness, and a part of her illness renders her kind of vacant at different points of the production. And what's interesting is it's a serious conversation, but there's a lot of comedy in it. And with facial movements and eye movements or lack thereof,
Yeah,
she takes you to some interesting places.
yeah, she does.
Was she doing that in the reading? Did you know?
Crystal came in we had another actor playing that role who's also phenomenal, Mallory Portnoy, and she did it for Summer Works, but had a conflict and couldn't come with us to off Broadway. And so kind of immediately Crystal Finn's name came up. And so she just slotted
You just
in.
knew she could do it.
Yeah.
She's amazing. The cast is really on point. Each
Yes.
person is bringing you uh, something unique, and each person has depth.
Yes.
which
Yes, absolutely.
is great. So, is it common for students, for grad students, to end up with their thesis project being an off-Broadway production?
My school, I've seen it a few times. Brilliant playwright Jesus Valles, right now, right across the street from my theater, is running
Nice,
their thesis production spread
nice.
at Intar Theater. And I know another brilliant playwright in Kenna Kuna had their thesis play was done at, I think, the Bush Theater in London.
Hmm.
So I've seen it. Um, I don't know how common it is overall, but I've definitely
But you
seen it.
definitely have seen it. That I mean, that's great because, for people, this program is Dream Leapers. I'm talking to people who are manifesting their dreams, and people who listen, who tune in, are looking to do the same for themselves. And to be a playwright, there's probably very few parents who say, "Yes, that's exactly what I want you to do, honey. And I want you to go to Brown, and we're going to spend all this money so you can be a
Brown is free.
playwright." Is it?
Brown is free. Yes, it is fully
Well,
funded.
that's good to know. That's great to know.
Yeah.
But it's so actually what happened for you when you knew that
Mhm.
you were going to be a writer and work in the arts? How did your family take that?
So I mean, my mom's probably a little unusual because I think if she had been born into different circumstances, I think she would have been a theater maker. I think she would have been an actor for sure. She's just so theatrical naturally and just loves to perform and loves to sing and recite poetry and recite Shakespeare. It's just like something that's in her. It flows out of her. But there was no way, given the life that she was leading, that that was going to happen.
Mhm,
So she very much encouraged us to engage with the arts in whatever way was like affordable. We didn't
mhm,
have very much money at all, but there was a place where I grew up in Syracuse that doesn't exist anymore that was called the Metropolitan School for the Arts. And they had a sliding scale, so if you were poor, you could take piano lessons or you could take a theater class at an affordable rate. And so that's how I got first involved with the arts. And that's from
mm.
her. She found that resource, made sure I was taking classes. So when I wanted to study acting, she was like super supportive. So I got a BFA in acting at Ithaca College. I didn't pay a lot of money for it, which is the way to do that. I would highly
Right?
recommend that because you're not going to make much money once you graduate. Um, and so I just moved to the city and I was an actor for like 11 years.
That's awesome. So,
Yeah.
just synergy. My closest friend from Baltimore, where I am from, is the president of Ithaca College. Her
Oh,
name is
really?
Dr. Lejeune Terry Cornish,
Oh
a
my
Black
gosh.
woman, and
Okay.
actually, I'm gonna be interviewing her in a couple of weeks on Dream Leaper. So,
Amazing.
I love that you, went to Ithaca. They have a lot of good programs there.
They do. And they have a great theater program. So I
That's
went to their theater
fantastic.
program. Yeah.
And so you had this dream. Where did that dream come from for you? Like, as a little girl, when did you know that you wanted to be a writer? Well, when you
I
were an
mean,
actor first, so
right.
in
So
the
I
art.
didn't know. So
Okay.
I was writing as a young person. I would write these little mystery novels and just write songs and write all the time, but I think like acting was just more legible to the folks around me. They knew what that was. And
Sure.
so that was like really encouraged. Um and that's fine because I never stopped writing and making things, and then when the time was right, I just explored that more and more and more until I had sort of the confidence to say, "Oh, I think I'm a writer."
But
Um,
so you did start acting was the doorway, right? Um,
exactly.
when was your first acting role?
Not counting, well, I mean, elementary school, they did a
Early,
show.
early.
Right. So I can still remember some of the little songs from those shows that we did about like the Erie Canal and friendship. And then I did like these little acting competitions, ACSO, Afro Academic, Cultural, Technological, and Scientific Olympics. Have you heard
Wow.
of that?
No.
I think it's like connected to the NAACP. I thought it was something that was
Say
under
the
their
name of it
umbrella.
again.
Afro-Academic, Cultural, Technological, and Scientific Olympics. I don't know
Okay.
if it still exists, but that was like a
That's
thing when I
awesome
was in high
though.
school. And so those acting competitions, you build a lot of confidence doing that.
Sure.
Um, yeah, so I've always been doing it. I don't know.
And I just find it interesting to see, the trajectory that people have, especially when they choose to be in the arts. So, did you end up, acting and waitressing, or how did you pay your bills in the early days?
Oh my God. I had so many jobs. I had so many jobs. And then I was definitely a waiter for some time. I was temping, and then temping led me to a job at a men's clothing store. And so I was like doing sales at a men's clothing store. And then they would let me leave and do shows, which was great. And eventually that turned into like a part-time thing that I could do when I was in town. When I got my first off-Broadway show, I was still working at the men's store because I was like, I can't let go of this steady income because I don't know when the
Understood.
show is going to close. I got certified to teach ESL.
Mm,
So I was teaching English as a second language and then
wow.
doing classes at this school that people could come to when they were visiting New York. But then also I had private clients, which allowed me to go and do regional theater and still have like money coming in from that teaching. So I had a lot of jobs constantly.
And
Um,
what happened for you during the pandemic? Because the
mhm,
performances anyhow, like, completely came to a halt for quite a period of time. What how did you survive? What did you do? How did you spend your
yeah.
time then?
Well, before the pandemic, in around 2014,
Mhm.
I stepped away from acting and I went to business school. So I got an MBA at NYU, and then
Wow.
I was working sort of in a role that's like part arts admin, where I was helping artists sort of bridge the gap between the classroom and the real world, the industry. So building out programming to help them launch their careers and taking writing classes at night. And the pandemic happened, and it just it was just like a sign that I need to go back to art full time. Oddly enough, everything was like shutting down, and I was like, I think I need to go back to the theater.
Wow.
And that's when I applied to grad school.
That's so interesting. So, I mean, the pivot to business school,
Mhm.
why did you do that?
I thought it would be a way to empower myself as an
Uh-huh.
actor. I felt so at the mercy of whatever was happening in the industry, things with the producers that I didn't understand. I didn't understand what was happening around me, and it had so much control over my life. And I thought, well, if I understand business and if I am like an awesome producer, I thought Issa Rae was so amazing. Like that's a form of empowerment that was really
Yeah.
appealing to me. And I think when I got to Stern, I had an amazing time and I think I grew in some amazing ways. But I mean, deep down, I'm an artist and I don't know, I was just like really close to the thing that I wanted and not quite doing the exact thing that I wanted.
But now having your own production up, I bet you that background in business has proven to be very helpful.
It's useful to understand, to be able to go into conversation with my agent about contracts and business decisions with the play, which is also now a property, right? I don't
Mhm.
feel intimidated by those conversations, and I think also having to be in the room with a lot of very different kinds of people who are attracted to entertainment for a lot of different reasons makes it easier for me to talk with the business manager or all the different people, the producers, all the different people you have to interface with as a playwright, that have concerns that, they love the play, obviously, and are committed to the play, but they also have these other concerns that help get the production going. And I can navigate that with comfort, I think.
That makes sense. Hey guys, this is Dream Leapers with Harriette Cole. We are speaking with Ro Reddick. She has a performance that's up for one more week. It's called Cold War Choir Practice. It's a fascinating production that really looks at life, friendship, the end of life, the threat of war, all kinds of things that we're thinking about right this minute. Ro, tell us where is it?
It's playing at the MCC Theater on 52nd Street, and it's a co-production with Page 73 and Club Thumb.
Excellent. And there's a week more of performances, so you definitely want to see it. So you, in your bio, there's part of your description is that you are a queer woman.
Mhm.
Because you say that, I want to ask you. I want to ask you on your journey, especially like with family. You know, a lot. I've talked to a lot of people about their coming out story. You know, be fully owning who they are, and you obviously do because you have it in your bio. What is that story for you?
I don't know, it's just who I am. I'm married to a wonderful woman, and I don't know, it
When did you
informs
get
a lot
married?
of. Oh, I got married in 2018.
Great.
So I've been married for a while now. Yeah, it definitely, I think, informs my view of the world, how I move through the world, how I move through spaces. It's not a huge part of this play just because of the
Right.
nature of the story, but it definitely is a part of a lot of my other writing.
And were you accepted by your family when you came out?
Yes, yeah,
You
absolutely.
you're really
Absolutely.
fortunate in that way. I,
Yeah.
um, I just finished a book that's coming out next year. It's a remake of my first book. It's called Jumping the Broom Today. And when I
Ah,
originally made this book many years ago, um, same-sex marriage was not legal. You know, queer marriage wasn't
wow.
legal, but it
Mhm,
is now. And I interviewed
mhm.
lots of couples who
Oh,
got married, and a really wonderful wedding producer out in the San Francisco, Oakland area, who was making commitment ceremonies well before 2015 when, you know, it was finally legalized.
right.
So I had so much fun talking to couples and seeing photos and just, you know, seeing love in all of its manifestations, including queer love. It was
Yeah.
all included in the book.
Oh, that's wonderful. I have to check
Yeah,
that out. When does it come out again?
in February of 27.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, it was nice that, you know, to just see what commitment looks like in so many different forms and without the, you know, boundaries of society that once were there. But then there's people are talking about what's happening now with this swing, this
Right.
very conservative swing that makes us not know what the future holds.
Yeah. There's so much uncertainty. I think about that a lot, and like what it's gonna mean to have a life in this country if we keep going in this direction. I don't know. Um, I mean, it's a similar anxiety to what Meek is experiencing in the play, that not knowing, that sort of fear
Yes.
of something you can't quite get your mind around.
The not knowing and not knowing who to trust is a part of what Meek kind of
Absolutely.
goes through. But speaking about Meek, you know, through the eyes of a 10-year-old, you get to see a lot of emotion and a lot of contemplation, you know, like, what am
Hmm.
I supposed to be thinking here? What am I you know, what is happening here? What is
Hmm.
happening in our world? Uh, these are things that I think are explored well in creative vehicles because you have the freedom to kind of explore it and the audience can think about it, maybe not thinking this is actually happening in this moment, but then later,
Right.
maybe it is. What messages are you hoping the viewer will, you know, the audience will take away from this performance?
I don't tend to like write with messaging in
Mhm.
mind. Um, but I guess the things that I'm thinking about, that I'm embedding into the play, are questions of when we are this vulnerable in the face of power and structures that we have to navigate in our
Mhm.
lives. Like, how do we do that? Like, what is that? I don't know the answer to that. And so you see Meek and you see the other characters making attempts at either aligning with power, or just trying to figure out like who they are in relationship to it. And I think if an audience is chewing on that as they leave, I think that's probably a good thing. The play is maybe
Sure.
doing its work.
Sure.
But yeah, I don't know if I have any answers.
That's okay. You know, there are many thoughts that people had, you know, as I was standing around talking to people, and listening. You know,
Yeah.
it certainly stirred up a lot of emotion,
Mm,
and I think that is the power of art. So
right.
so what else are you working on? Because this is something you created a while ago. Now it's
Hmm.
living on stage, but I know that behind the scenes, Ro's got stuff cooking. What are you working on?
I am working on a play. I'm going to do a reading of a play that I wrote immediately after this, like the next semester. That's very different. It's kind of an absurdist corporate satire. And then I have some other pieces. I have one piece that's kind of still in a space where I just have the faintest idea of what it is, and I'm working with a director, Eileen Winmcgrady. We're both Audrey residents at New George's, and we're going to get in a room with actors, and we're going to try a bunch of stuff and figure out what is this idea, what is this play exactly. But we know it deals with censorship and language. That's the thing
Mm.
that we know.
So the behind the scenes of this, are you looking for the residencies in order to have that a soft landing to work on things? Does your agent do that? How does that work?
Usually you apply. With the New Georges, Eileen is a affiliated artist, and so she got the opportunity to apply with something. She talked to me, and we decided to sort of pitch this. And that was a very smooth, straightforward application process. But there are a number of places that will give artists time and space and resources to figure their work out. And this just happened to be the one that we're doing now. But you usually, as an artist, you do that. It comes out of your relationships or your applications.
So what does networking look like for a playwright, for an actor? You know, what does
Mhm.
that look like in New York City or wherever you are? What is that process? Because I think in part, especially for a
Yeah.
playwright, there's a part of you that's at home at that computer thumping it out, you know, so there's a part that's kind of insular. So, but also you have to be with people and get to know them. So what
Right.
does that look like for you?
Yeah, I feel like with theater makers, it's so important to build genuine relationships with people so people can really
Mhm.
get to know you and what you do as an artist and want to work with you, want to bring you into their rooms and you want to bring them into your rooms. So it's hard to like network in the traditional sense, right? But you can, like, when you go off to do a residency, you're going to meet other people, you're going to meet other writers, you're going to meet directors, you're going to meet all kinds of people. So really just kind of investing in getting to know everybody else and wanting to being curious about what they're making will help you just get to know people in a way that will grow over time. I've been in New York for a long time, mostly as an artist, as an actor, and now as a playwright. The bulk of my relationships have come out of graduate school. That's sort of like where you really know people deeply, and then out of the writing groups that you do. So it's got to be like an organic thing, and it takes time. But the I would my recommendation to someone who's new and wanting to make these relationships is to apply for writing groups and residencies, and yeah, just be really open to learning
And where
about
do you
people.
find those things to even apply to
Mhm.
them?
One good place is PwC, the Playwright Center, has a database. And there's a fee that you pay that's very minimal that allows you to get access to all these applications and you can kind of filter through. That's probably the most comprehensive source, I would say, especially if you're
Mhm.
starting out. And then I know that other people just kind of look and see where have other people gone to develop their work and then learned about those places and applied to those places. But I think if you check out PwC, they have a lot of resources for emerging playwrights.
That's great. I'm curious about the international frontier because on
Mhm.
the one hand, I mean, two of my closest friends are moving to Portugal in about a month and a half.
Oh,
My
wow.
my cousin, and they're artists. My cousin and her husband retired to Panama.
Oh, wow.
I've heard about so many people who are looking at the world for where they
Mhm.
want to be next. And so I'm curious in terms of working artists, theater makers, are there writing workshops and other kind of retreats and things that are global that you are looking at that you know that people are
Mm.
doing?
I mean, I'm curious about that too. I'm still trying to get to know the international
Yeah.
theater scene. What's cool about the Blackburn Prize is that it alternates. So every year it's hosted by either New York or London. And so this year
Mm,
it was hosted by London. And so I got to go to London and I met with people at different theaters, and you get to know all these theater makers that are based there, which was really cool. But I don't know. I'm trying to figure that out because I feel like we all need to understand where
yeah.
else in the world we we
Yeah,
could
I mean,
be.
how I've heard about it mostly, Ro, is for people literally looking to where am I gonna retire? Where am I going to live? I have
Right.
another friend who with the first, the 45, that election,
Right.
she you know how people would say, "If my person doesn't win, I'm moving to Canada?" She
Right.
moved to Paris, and
Oh,
and she has kept a residency there and goes between Brooklyn and Paris.
oh
And
my
I'm like, "Go on,
gosh.
girl." I mean, I love that people are looking at the world in this way, and, one of the people who I have fallen in love with again historically, uh, is Marcus Garvey, who believed in a Pan-African world. He saw the whole
Mm,
world. He did not see just having to be in America. He was from Jamaica, but he looked at the world, and if we do that, we are what people are saying now, the global majority. And if
mhm.
you think about it in that way, where can you be? Well, you can be anywhere. And so I think I'm sure there are these workshops and retreats
Mhm.
and moments when artists are getting together everywhere in the world. And
Yeah.
yeah, so you have to look for that.
I
That
know.
sounds
I'm it's on my radar.
because also it's as you talk about being in the company of other people and learning and vibing off of them, if
Mhm.
it's an international
Yeah.
group of people, that's got to be pretty exciting.
Yeah, I would love to. My cousins, so my brother and then two cousins, no, three cousins, we all went on a trip to Paris. We called it Cousins Trip.
Hmm.
And we just like had a ball. We all stayed in the same Airbnb and then we just like walked around Paris together and explored. And I think it changed something between us. It brought us closer. And so
Nice.
now we're like, where's the next trip? Where are we gonna go? And creeping into that conversation for my cousins who are nearing retirement age is like, would we retire somewhere else? And like, I don't know. There's something I've got a bug right now to see other parts of the world and to be with
I
people I
love
care
it.
about in those places.
Hey guys, this is Dream Leapers with Harriette Cole. We are talking with Ro Reddick. She is the creator of Cold War Choir Practice that is up for one more week here in New York City. You should definitely go check it out. We have 5 minutes left. Okay, Ro, in these 5 minutes, I want you to talk to the people who are dreaming about being playwrights, being actors, being in that
Hmm.
space.
Hmm.
What advice can you give to them as they are pursuing their dreams?
I think um, patience. It's such a long road, and to sort of embrace that, embrace the fact that it's going to take a minute. Um, it was really helpful for me. This is not for everyone, but it was really helpful for me to have gotten a BFA on the cheap for next to nothing and to get an MFA for nothing. So I think if you can educate yourself about the programs that will
Mhm.
train you in whatever your discipline is, that are top tier and also free, and sort of work towards getting into one of those programs, I think it could be transformational because the community that you get, plus the training, plus the sort of access, industry access, is what will help you launch,
Mhm.
which is what you want after that. And then I would also encourage you, whoever you are, to make your own work. Even if you're an actor, make a solo show. Um, just make things, make opportunities to sort of engage with your creative side, because there's a lot of waiting for opportunities. So just be sure you're in a place where you can also be generating your own opportunities at, whatever level makes sense for you financially, because it's expensive to produce. But try to create small opportunities for yourself so that you're always stretching and growing and moving towards what you want to be doing.
So here's a question to that end. Do you think it's important for artists to make this work that they perform before an audience? Can it also work if they're filming it and they make a piece of work and they film it and put it on the internet, a combo? What do you think?
I think it depends on what the medium is. For
Mhm.
for playwriting, for theater, it really is about, people being in a room together. That's the essential part of it.
Right.
And there are ways to really scale that down. So like when I was maybe the year before, so 2019, I wrote a solo show and then just produced it on a level that I could afford, which was just at like the duplex, one
Mhm.
night only at the duplex, invited a ton of people and put the show up. And that became part of my portfolio for applying to grad
Mm.
school, right?
Okay.
But it was small. It was something that I could manage, I could get my arms around. But if
Mhm.
you make film, if you obviously will need to find a way to make a short on the cheap.
Right. And because we can make them with our phones now, it is possible. I mean, it's maybe isn't the most perfect production, but it gets the work out there for people to have a sense of what you're doing.
You're getting your voice out there. If you're also writing the thing, maybe I don't know. I'm thinking back to those early Issa Rae web series, right? That are just
Yeah,
kind of thrown together, right? But her voice is what comes through.
yeah.
So it's hard for me to speak to that medium so directly, but I would say for playwriting, just write, get people in
Mhm.
a room and hear the work or share the work.
What do you do when you feel down?
About theater?
Well, when you may feel discouraged, when, you feel like, "Oh, it's just too hard." We all have those
Right.
moments. What do
Right.
you do in those moments that are those tender moments?
I'm a big journaler. I do a lot of journaling, to kind of move through it and work out what's at the root of it.
Mhm.
Um, and then I also, if it's anxiety about, I think for me when I was in grad school, I had anxiety about leaving school, not having a stipend anymore, not having any money, having to figure
Mhm.
out how to keep myself alive, not knowing
Sure.
if anybody would care about my plays. And so journaling and then doing the math of exactly how much money will I need to survive was very helpful for me. So mixing something really logical with something more to deal with the emotions was very helpful.
And how many years, uh, w have you not had to have another job?
Well, my first year out of school, I was teaching. So I did
Mhm.
adjuncting for
Right.
a year. And then the play got produced, and I've been able to kind of live off of playwriting money for
That's
this past year, which is great.
that is so great, congratulations, and
Thank you.
truly, I absolutely enjoyed it. I was, as you can imagine, proud as I could be to see Alana on stage as a star. She did an incredible
She's
job.
amazing. She's
Yeah,
amazing.
everyone in the performance is great. Tell us before we go, where is it and, when can they see it?
MCC Theater on 52nd Street between 10th and 11th. You can see it today at 2 p.m., Saturday, 2 p.m., and again at 7 p.m., Sunday at 3 p.m., and then next week, Tuesday through Sunday before we close on April 5th.
Well, congratulations. It's definitely worth seeing. And I know you're proud that this baby got produced and is now on
Yes.
in off-Broadway production. Congratulations.
Yes. Thank you.
And thank you to all of you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Ro Reddick as much as I did. Cold War choir practice. It's up for one more week, y'all. You'll enjoy it. Until next time, have a great day and make it count.